Returns. Rated PG-13 at theaters.
So in The Mummy Returns, many years ago in ancient Egypt, we have a man known as the Scorpion King, played by The Rock, leading a menacing army, but when he sold his soul to Anubis, he's erased from history. Now he's only a myth, or is he? Rick and Evelyn, once again played by Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, are still discovering new artifacts with their 8-year-old son Alex. They discover the bracelet of Anubis, but someone else is after the bracelet. High Priest Imhotep is back, Arnold Vosloo. He's been brought back from the dead once again and wants the bracelet to control the Scorpion King's army. But that's not the only problem. Imhotep now has Alex with the bracelet attached to him and doesn't have that long to live, so the hijinks ensue from that point. And like I said, The Mummy Returns, the Mummy movies are not really the best movies in general. The first movie was fun, I'll give it that. Like, it felt like a fun adventure film with an idea that it's not going to be taken too seriously. And this one really does not take itself that seriously, because some of the CG effects in this movie are really, really dated. I don't think I need to tell you about what the Scorpion King looks like in CG, because you probably know that's one of the worst CG effects ever. But at the same time, though, this movie still has those elements of it's so bad it's good type of stuff here. Like, there are scenes in this movie that are ridiculously stupid, and there are shots in this movie that are so ridiculously stupid. And in fact, why am I even talking about these shots? Why don't I actually show you the funniest shot in the entire movie? This is from the end of the movie. This is from the climax of the movie. I just want you to take a look at this scene in particular, and I'm going to pause it at the point where it's friggin' hilarious. Just watch this. I mean, just look at this thing. Like, this is something that you need to somehow make a picture out of this, get a frame and frame it up on your wall. This is art right here. I mean, you have Brendan Fraser finding a CG rock with Arnold Vosloo giving this over-the-top reaction that looks like he's screaming at the top of his lungs, like, no! Like he's doing, like, because he is screaming at the top of his lungs in the scene. But my God, this scene is just, it's beautifully bad. Like, this is something that, like I said, you hang it in a museum and you hang it as a piece of art, because that's exactly what this thing is right here. This right here is a piece of art that needs to be hung in a museum or in a wall somewhere. Just like someone needs to frame this image right here and give it to me as a gift. I don't know who would want to do that, but if you want to do that, let me know, because I would love to have this image on my walls. Like, it's like one of those. This is art right here. This is really, really art right here. But with that said, though, there are moments where the CG still looks pretty cool. Like, you can tell Dwayne Johnson has a little bit of that early charisma that would later take up most of his career in film down the road with his performance. I mean, he doesn't really say a whole lot in this movie, but he leaves that for the Scorpion King. But you can just tell he's got screen presence there. It's definitely there in this movie, even though he doesn't really say a whole lot. It doesn't really it's not really given a whole lot to do until later on down the road here. But as far as the movie itself goes, it's fine for what it is. It's not as good as the first Mummy movie, but it certainly is much better than anything that comes after this movie, because you get Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, which is a really, really bad sequel, and then you have the Tom Cruise movie, which is a really, really bad movie, period. But this still has some elements to it that are still fun enough that I would say it's definitely worth checking out. If you like the first one, you definitely get some fun in this movie here. It's definitely not the same movie as the first film, but it is still a fun film in general. And it does have those moments that are so laughably bad that you will remember them for years and years to come. Such as that scene I just showed you. But The Mummy Returns. Not a bad way to start off the summer movie season. Grab some popcorn and have some fun with it.
for this moment. To break them.
Yes! Thank you, I'll be here all week.
I like my different. And you are? Ulrich von Liechtenstein from Gelderland.
Sir Ulrich von Liechtenstein. I would have him win my heart.
You're my favourite knight. He's won 4 tournaments in a row. And a horse? That man is unbeatable.
You're just a silly boy with a horse and a stick.
It's called a lance. Hello?
If the nobles find out who you are, there'll be the devil to pay.
Pray that they don't.
Ulrich von Liechtenstein is not who he appears to be.
The girl will arrest you and doesn't work guards.
I love you. There's nothing else to do. Run, and I will run with you.
I will not run!
I'm a knight. I'm here to compete. Let's dance all night.
Your name makes no matter to me, so long as I can call you my own.
So A Knight's Tale stars Heath Ledger as William Thatcher, a peasant squire who poses as a knight and competes in tournaments, winning accolades and acquiring friendships with such historical figures like Edward the Black Prince, played by James Purefoy, and Geoffrey Chaucer, played by Paul Bettany. You see also Mark Addy in here, as well as Rufus Sewell and Alan Tudyk. And what's notable about this movie, you might kind of have seen from the trailer for this, its 14th century story is intentionally anachronistic, with many modern pop culture references and a soundtrack featuring 1970s music, which is funny because the movie that comes out the next week proved to be the much bigger success, taking classic stories and adding a modern edge to it. But we'll talk about that on tomorrow's show. But this movie in particular is a very interesting film, written and directed by Brian Helgeland, who also wrote the script for LA Confidential. But it's the first movie that really cemented Heath Ledger as a leading star in here. He had a show a couple of years ago, which did not last very long. I believe, I'm trying to remember what the show was called. It was some War was what it was called, because it was on Fox for a little bit here in America, but he had his big breakout role in 10 Things I Hate About You, and then followed that up in The Patriot, and then this is his first real opportunity in a leading role here, and for a guy like him to come into this movie, he really commanded the screen in this film, and did a pretty good job with it, too. The movie does a pretty good job of balancing the modern humor that's trying to put together, the modern style is trying to put together, with more of the classic storylines from ancient times, like medieval times. And I think it does a pretty good job of handling that. It's a very predictable story. It's basically a Rocky storyline here, and I think the critical consensus pretty much says it best on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a predictable, if spirited Rocky on horseback, which it kind of is, but it's a fun kind of predictable, where you just kind of accept it for what it is, and then you just go on with your day. And what's interesting about this movie, the one thing that most people take away from it isn't the movie itself, but what went on behind the scenes, because it was this movie and The Animal that was released in 2001 where somebody started to realize this David Manning guy doesn't have any real credentials to him, and Newsweek actually revealed that it was a fake critic created by a Columbia employee who worked in the advertising department, and he was fraudulently presented as a reviewer for the Ridgefield Press, which is a small Connecticut newspaper, and basically, that came out a couple weeks later when The Animal came out, and we'll talk about that movie as we go for a couple weeks from now. But they put praise on some actually decent films. Vertical Limit was one of those movies where this guy had his name on it. Hollow Man was another one, and this one is a pretty fun movie too. It's a really fun film. It knows what it's trying to do. It has a good cast to really make it work in the long run, and it is a fun action comedy. It's a really good, well-made film. The soundtrack for the movie is great. It's all 70s music, and, come on. We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions, You Shook Me All Night Long. That's my bread and butter right there. So, maybe that's why I loved it a little bit more than most people did, but, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I think it's a ton of fun. I can't recommend it enough. A Knight's Tale is a ton of fun. So, let's go ahead and take a look at the last movie we have here, and that is the animated feature, The Trumpet and the Swan.
What beloved author of Stuart Little comes another family classic, The Trumpet of the Swan. Starring Louis, the trumpeter swan without a voice, who finds out that everyone has their own special gift. Featuring the voices of Jason Alexander, Reese Witherspoon, Barry Steenburgen, and Seth Green, with Carol Burnett and Joe Mantegna, and music performed by Little Richard.
Right, Louis!
The Trumpet of the Swan.
Everybody say!
Or The Trumpet of the Swan. I got it confused there. Thought it was Anne. But from the director of The Swan Princess, and also director of many of the more notable late 90s movies that weren't really all that great, like The King and I and The Scarecrow. But never mind the fact that he was one of the directors on The Fox and the Hound and The Black Cauldron, when he worked at Disney. But this is based off of E.B. White's book of the same name. It tells the story of a young trumpeter swan who is born with muteness and is vying for the attention of this beautiful pen played by Reese Witherspoon. He overcomes this by learning to play the trumpet, and that's pretty much where it goes from there. I guess really that this is one that I don't remember a whole lot from. I used to remember seeing the trailer for it a lot on like the old Columbia videotapes, and I mean, the biggest draw of the movie was the cast that has with Witherspoon, Jason Alexander, Barry Steenburgen, Seth Green, Carol Burnett, Joe Mantegna, a couple of other notable names in there: Melissa Disney from As Told by Ginger, Kath Soucie, E.G. Daly, Pam Siegel, Gary Anthony Williams, Corey Burton, a lot of notable voice actors involved in this film. I don't remember too much about this movie, and even then, it felt like a movie that I would have never really been that interested in, honestly. It's one of those movies that just kind of feels like it really isn't all that special or anything that unique or anything that interesting in general. Like, the animation's kind of mediocre at best, but then again, that's what it was for this director's company when he started directing movies on his own in the late 90s. Yeah, I never read the book this was based off of. I never saw the movie in full, but what I did see from it never was really anything that made me want to see the movie in full. Like, it felt like a film that was just kind of like, for little kids, maybe they enjoyed it, but it's not one that I would want to watch anytime soon, especially at the age I was at when that came out. So, not much more to say about that one. That's The Trumpet and the Swan.
Let's go.
Hi, Princess! It's hot!
Yes, get them to shut up, that's the trick. The comedy event of the summer stars Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, Cameron Diaz, Sean Lithgow.
How about him?
There's an arrow in your butt.
Oh, would you look at that? Shrek.
Oh, what large teeth you have! And do I detect a hint of minty freshness?
Rated PG. Starts May 18th everywhere.
Shrek is, of course, the story of an embittered ogre named Shrek, played by Mike Myers, who finds his home in the swamp overrun by fairy tale creatures, banished by the obsessive ruler Lord Farquaad, played by John Lithgow. With the help of a donkey voiced by Eddie Murphy, Shrek must make a pact with Farquaad to rescue Princess Fiona, played by Cameron Diaz, in exchange for gaining control of his swamp. And naturally, the two end up having a connection together, and slowly but surely, the big twist is revealed in this movie. And if you have not seen the Shrek movies at this point, then you'd probably want to step away from here, but I think everybody has seen this movie. I mean, this is a film that began production all the way back in 1991, back when Steven Spielberg had his animation studio at Universal, and he actually wanted to produce a traditionally animated feature film, but he was later convinced to take the film over to DreamWorks in 94 when Jeffrey Katzenberg started that company up. And essentially the film came together shortly after that. I mean, it was originally going to have Chris Farley as the voice of the character. He actually did record a lot of the dialogue, but he passed away in 1997 before the film was actually completed. Although we do have a little bit of some snippets here and there of what that would have sounded like.
Man, there's nothing like a fire and a noble romantic mission to warm the cockles of your heart.
Yeah. I like my cockles room temperature, thank you very much.
Hey, if you're not doing this for cockle warming, why are you doing it?
Simple. Fartwad gets his princess, I get what I want.
Which is? Now, come on, what do you want?
I don't have time to set it to music.
Oh, this is another one of those onion things.
No, this is one of those drop it and leave me alone things.
Well, why don't you want to talk about it?
Why do you want to talk about it?
Well, why are you answering the question with a question?
Why are you asking questions I don't want to answer?
Why are you blocking?
I'm not blocking.
Then why do you have problems expressing your wants?
I don't. I want you to shut up. See? No problem.
You're just displacing your anger.
Believe me, it's properly placed.
You're really mad at whoever did this to you.
No one did anything to me.
Yes. Someone hurt you so bad. Someone hurt you many years ago.
Leave my parents out of this!
Breakthrough! Let's go with that. Let's explore family origin. Were you hugged as a child, Shrek?
All right. I want a home. And someone to share it with. Okay?
And it definitely would have been very interesting to see what a Farley Shrek would have been like in the long run. But like I said, he died before the film was finished, so basically Mike Myers had to come in, and of course he gave Shrek the Scottish accent, and then the rest is history from there. The film actually was intended to be created using motion capture work, but because of poor test results that came from that, they basically hired the company that did Ants to do the final computer animation. And obviously, the film parodies a lot of different fairy tales and animated Disney films, but this film really changed the game for CG animation to say that, hey, we're here and we're willing to compete with you guys, to compete with the likes of Disney, because this thing was a massive game changer in animation. It showed that Disney and Pixar weren't the only big names that could go in there, create great CG films in general. Anybody can do it if you have the right people behind it and the right purpose to it, because DreamWorks had been slowly but surely creeping in on Disney's money for a number of years, of course starting with the Ants and the Prince of Egypt, and then following that up the year before with The Road to El Dorado and Chicken Run. And this was their fifth film, and this was the film that really showed what could happen if you put if a studio like DreamWorks can come in and be a real game changer for the computer animated war that was to come later on in the years to come. And this won the first ever Oscar for Best Animated Feature Film too, so that was kind of notable as well, to beat Monsters Incorporated, a Disney film. And Jimmy Neutron, of all things, got nominated for that, which is very odd for a Paramount Nickelodeon film, but we'll get to those two movies later on down the road. But of course, I don't need to tell you how massive the Shrek fan base continued to grow. It was the big hit of the summer. It led to a lot of sequels, a lot of spin-offs, of course. Shrek became a global phenomenon and has been well regarded as one of the most influential animated films of the 2000s, and was actually selected to the National Film Registry's preservation from the Library of Congress in 2020, becoming the first animated film of the 21st century to be preserved on that front. And it's definitely well-deserved. I mean, I don't think I need to say anything more about this particular film that hasn't already been said already, because most of you have seen this movie. And even if you haven't, you should have seen something from it by this point. Even if you didn't see this one, you should have seen at least some of the other sequels in general, or anything from Shrek. You know who this character is. I mean, it's a fun concept. It's a really fun idea. The voice work is top-notch. You've got some really great talent behind the scenes. Is the animation for the time? It works fine for what it is. It could be dated at times, but then again, computer animation was just slowly but surely beginning to become what would eventually become nowadays, where you can do a whole lot with CG animation nowadays compared to what you could do back then in 2001. But like I said, it was the movie that showed everybody that Disney was not the only kid on the block who could make great animated material, and this was at a time when Disney's second renaissance was slowly but surely coming to an end. And as we're going to find out in a couple weeks from now when we take a look at Atlantis, this film clearly went over Atlantis' box office numbers big time, and just added another missed opportunity for Disney in that front. But DreamWorks took it over from there. And like I said, man, there really is not much more I can say about this movie that hasn't already been said. It's a fun movie. It's well acted, well animated for the time. I mean, great voice work, great comedy. It's just a really, really good movie. A great soundtrack, too. I mean, it was a game changer for a number of different reasons. And, this is a film that really, it really changed the game for what we know animation to be today. It was a film that really took a lot of chances, and it paid off big time. It went on to become one of the most influential movies of its time, and you can definitely see why it holds up after all these years. It's still a very fun movie. And who would have guessed that they would be able to do it again the second time around? But we'll eventually get to that when we get to the second film in 2004. But yeah, not much more I could say about this one already. Shrek really is something special. I mean, I guess you could say Shrek is life. Shrek is everything. You know what it is. But yeah, you could tell that this movie still has a massive impact on people many, many years after it came out. I was lucky enough to see this in the theater there, and I fell in love with it right out of the get-go, man. This is just a great, fun movie. I mean, this is just a really, really enjoyable film. I love it. You love it, too. It's Shrek, man. Shrek is life. So, let's take a look at some of the other movies that dared to go up against this movie. And Jennifer Lopez had a movie that came out this weekend called Angel Eyes.
A tough cop.
Who's the rest?
Cut off from the world.
until she opened her eyes.
Why would you jump somebody with a gun?
To a mystery.
Who are you?
He's a ghost. Jennifer Lopez.
What do you want from me?
How about the truth?
You won't believe your eyes. Angel Eyes. Rated R. Starts Friday, May 18th.
Because when you see franchise pictures, you know you're going to have a quality film. Not really. But, I've done that joke enough when we talked about franchise pictures in general. But, here you have the story of a Chicago police officer, played by Jennifer Lopez, who nearly becomes the victim of a fatal ambush. A mysterious stranger, Ketch, intervenes, Ketch being played by Jim Caviezel, disarms the assassin and saves Sharon's life. Is it a stroke of luck, a twist of fate, or just a concerned citizen who happens to pass by at the right time and wasn't afraid to get involved? Maybe, but Sharon and Ketch have met once before. As the two fall in love, they discover the truth about each other and are forced to deal with the secrets of their past. And I will say this, though, for a franchise pictures movie, and we've talked about a lot of their movies that have not been that good, this one almost comes close to being a good film. It's not, but it's really one of those movies where, I don't know, like, it just has those elements of something really special, something that's right there for the taking, and yet it just can't really get to that point to where it can really stand out on its own. I mean, Jennifer Lopez really is giving it her all in this movie. Jim Caviezel's doing a pretty good job in this as well. The pieces are definitely there. There is a good idea in general of what they're trying to accomplish here, but it just can't get past that point where it can really be considered a great movie. It has that third act climax where it just really kind of ruins the ebb and flow of the movie, and it just really takes you out of it. It's just like, man, you were so close to making this work. And sadly, it just does not, and it really is a shame, too, because the first two acts show a lot of promise to it, and like I said, the acting overall is very good. At the same time, though, it just can't get past that second level to really become something special, and it kind of falls into the same trap that most franchise pictures do, is that they don't really have a good script to really work with all the way through. But yeah, it's just a film that just really, it comes this close to being something really good, and it just can't stick the landing in the end. It's a real disappointment because it is a tolerable movie. It is a film that you feel like somebody here is actually trying to make this work, and sadly, it just does not. And yeah, you expect so much more from it, but unfortunately, you don't get it at all. But I digress. So let's go ahead and take a look at our last movie, which is the limited release of Moulin Rouge.
In love with anyone.
One woman's world.
Moulin Rouge is my home.
One man's dream.
The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return.
And a romance till it's over.
No.
That changed everything.
I don't want to pretend anymore.
Critics are calling Moulin Rouge one of the most incredible movies you've ever seen. Time magazine says the film dances, the heart sings. Moulin Rouge, rated PG-13. Exclusive engagements now playing everywhere June 1st.
So, of course, Moulin Rouge is a jukebox musical romantic drama from Baz Luhrmann, who gave us Strictly Ballroom and Romeo and Juliet, and it follows an English poet played by Ewan McGregor, who falls in love with the star of the Moulin Rouge, a cabaret actress and courtesan played by Nicole Kidman. And the film uses the musical setting of the Montmartre quarter of Paris, and like I said, it's the final part of the Red Curtain trilogy. In addition to Kidman and McGregor, you have Jim Broadbent, Richard Roxburgh, John Leguizamo in the cast as well. I mean, this is a movie that just really, from a visuals perspective, it's incredible. It's a really stylistic and cool-looking film. It's a really fun musical, too. Like, it's a really well-made film on a number of different levels here. The script is a little bit too pretentious for its own good at times, but the chemistry between McGregor and Kidman works well enough where you can kind of let it go, and you can really find yourself having a lot of fun with the film in general here. And I think the film does have a lot of really good fun material to work with here, and it's just a very stylistic and sexy film. I mean, Nicole Kidman in this movie, my God, like, she is beautiful in this movie, man. Like, and you want to talk about sexy? Let's talk about the thing that pretty much everybody remembers from this movie, and that is this. I mean, Lady Marmalade's probably the most memorable thing that came out of this movie. I mean, the song is not only really good, mostly combining the mixes of, like, these very different artists together, like Christina Aguilera, Lil' Kim, Maya, and Pink, as well as Missy Elliott, too. Like, you know, these are very different, unique musical styles all coming together for the song, but, I mean, it's one of the sexiest music videos you'll ever see. Like, they are, like, it really fits the ebb and flow of the movie itself here, and it's the one thing you remember from this movie. Even if you don't like this movie, you remember this song in particular because of maybe that music video alone, but, like, that's just one of those ones where you see it, you'll always remember it every time you hear that song, and every time someone mentions this movie, it's just like, it's one of those things where it's just like, it's such a classic song on so many levels, and it definitely just fits the ebb and flow of the movie itself here. It's a very well-made film. Baz Luhrmann, I do really like a lot of his movies in general. I mean, there's been a couple of ones where they haven't been that great. I wasn't really the biggest fan of Australia. I really like The Great Gatsby. That's one of those ones that grew on me over time. And then Elvis, which is, I still don't like that movie. Like, I know what it was trying to accomplish, but it just didn't really do it for me. I'm one of the few people that really does not like that movie in general. But this is probably his magnum opus. This is the film that really shows what he can do as a director, his visual style coming to life, and it's just such an amazing film. I love it so much. It's a great film. Can't recommend this one enough. Moulin Rouge.
The Japanese are expecting a war. Hostilities imminent. We'll have no shield against invasion. We have to strike the heart of Japan the way they have hit us.
Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, May 25th.
Because Disney saw what happened with Titanic and said, we could do the same thing with another tragic historical event in American history, but let's do it with the biggest one possible, and let's get the guy who directed Armageddon to do it. Mother of God, this movie is a mess. This is a heavily fictionalized version, no doubt about that one, of the attack of Pearl Harbor by Japanese forces on December 7th, 1941, focusing on a love story set amidst the lead up to the attack, its aftermath, and the Doolittle raid. You have Ben Affleck, Kate Beckinsale, Josh Hartnett, Cuba Gooding Jr., Tom Sizemore, John Boyd, Alec Baldwin, among a massive cast in this movie. This was written by the guy that wrote Braveheart, by the way, so this isn't some hack writer that wrote this. This is a guy that won an Academy Award for writing Braveheart. And yet this movie somehow, some way, managed to completely just be one of the most disgusting portrayals of a historic event you will ever see. I mean, my God, this movie is a mess. This is a film that is just so... It's a disaster on so many levels, even more than the actual disaster that it's inspired by. Like, it's amazing how this movie just is so tone deaf and so wants to be the new Titanic that it just fails on every level. Because in Titanic, it combines historical people from historical characters with fictional characters, and because they're in that same situation on the ship, you get invested in the situations that happen when the ship goes down. You feel for those people. You don't feel for any of these people in this movie because half the time the fictional characters are far away from where the actual attacks happen, and this movie wants to try to like tug at your heartstrings by saying that, hey, we're not just going to attack the ships like what happened in real life. We're going to attack the hospitals, you know. We're going to attack these characters that you're supposed to give a shit about, and you do not. Like, I'm sorry. These characters in this the characters they create for this movie are the most detestable characters you will ever see. From the leads, Ben Affleck and Josh Hartnett, to Kate Beckinsale, who is just, oh my gosh, this movie, like, everything she does in this movie is every bad character trait you could throw into this. Like, it's just such a poorly written movie on so many levels. And this movie actually makes the soldiers that were in this movie, the people who actually died in this, look like complete dumbasses, because there are people that are literally brushing their teeth while this is happening instead of, you know, ducking for cover. They have people who stutter, who has to tell people the Japs are here, and like trying to be funny, and just like it's not. And then like the whole thing about this entire movie is like, it's a big slap to the face to the people who were affected by this tragedy, and the fact that they try to, like, it's bad enough that they have to do what they do to this movie, but they make moments in this movie that are trying to force these emotional powerhouse performances. Like, there's one scene in particular that I was just like, you really did not do what I think you just did. You had FDR, played by John Voight. He's in a wheelchair, and he basically just decides, like, he says, like, hey, we have to attack these guys just like they attack us. And then he has to get up from the wheelchair, stand up on the table. Like, it's supposed to be like this big powerhouse moment. But when you look at it, it's just like, no, you're just being really fucking stupid by doing that. Like, this whole movie is so stupid. Like, this is a terrible, terrible movie. And yes, it has elements to it that actually are good. The action sequences, they're nicely done. Like, it's Michael Bay. At least I can see what the hell is going on. And for the most part, the effects do work pretty well. But as we always say before here, visuals don't make the movie. The score is really good. Hans Zimmer. I mean, it's Hans Zimmer, man. I mean, this guy's one of the greatest composers we have right now. And that's pretty much it. Like, yeah, it also had a good marketing campaign, but marketing campaigns don't really sell a movie. Like, you could market anything really well. I mean, we've seen it before. You know, Lost World was marketed great, turned out to be a shitty movie. Godzilla had a great marketing campaign, turned out to be a terrible movie. I mean, Phantom Menace, great marketing campaign, terrible movie. I can go on and on and on. I mean, I don't even need to go through that little time gap between 97 and 2001. Like, it still happens to this very day. We still get great marketing campaigns for movies, but they always end up terrible, especially the Michael Bay movies. Like this is Armageddon is a bad movie, but Armageddon wasn't based on something tragic and something that was so significant to the history of this country and everything that we stood for, and all these people, all these military people. Like I said before, this movie makes people in the military look like complete assholes and complete idiots because of the ways that they can easily just be past medical exams by just having stupid things. There's a scene early on in the movie where Ben Affleck's character has to pretend he's got dyslexia, so he has to write on. He has to have a thing on a paper that says what the eye chart says, even though the eye chart is literally standing right there. You can see Kate Beckinsale pretty well, but you can't see an eye chart saying the exact same thing that's written on here, and like stuff like that is ridiculous. And their relationship is horribly written because he thinks that just because that she loves him, she'll stand by him no matter what he does, even if he has to tell him, I have to leave on this mission the next day without telling her. It's just like, it's bad. Like, I can't really delve into it too much because, you know, I feel like there are many other people who have done this a whole lot better than I could easily do. I mean, go watch Nostalgia Critic's review of Pearl Harbor. He goes into this so much because his father was in the military. I can't remember what it was. I think he was in the Navy. Let me double check. Yeah, he was in the Navy, and in that rant, like, there are a couple things where he did say that he did get it wrong, like, the whole thing about, you know, the Navy men that actually didn't know how to swim. Turns out that actually was something that actually happened back then. But even then, like, you can believe his anger because he has family that's been in the military. I have family that's been in the military, and I mean, my grandfather's no longer here to really tell me those stories anymore, but I knew that he was in the military, and he was around when this happened, and it's just like, I would not be surprised if he saw this and he would have been as pissed off as most people were, because there were people that were really ticked off about this movie. Like, when they play this movie in classes in high school, they basically have to tell the kids, we're not going to watch the love story and all that stuff, we're going to watch the action sequences in here. Like, that should tell you everything you need to know. But, like, this is just one of those movies where it just feels so poorly executed, so poorly written, and above all, feels just incredibly offensive to the people who were affected by this. This is like the equivalent of doing a big-scale epic on the events of September 11th, and doing it in this caliber, and doing it in the exact same way, and it would piss off a lot of people. In fact, they've tried to do this with it. I mean, remember the movie Remember Me, where it literally ends on September 11, 2001, even though there was no connection to the events of 9/11 whatsoever. They used that as a focal point for a cheap emotional ploy on you. This movie has a lot of those cheap emotional ploys. Like, oh, I'm supposed to be sorry for Kate Beckinsale now because, oh, she got pregnant by Ben Affleck's character. There's just like, no, you don't get to use an excuse anymore. Like, oh no, it was Josh Hartnett's character who got her pregnant. It's just like, oh, you're pregnant? Okay, so what? Like, there's nothing you've done in this movie makes me feel sorry for you or anybody else in this love triangle that you've created. This whole movie is an insult. It's an insult to everything that's wrong with Michael Bay as a whole. And, like, this isn't even Michael Bay at his absolute worst. We haven't even gotten past past Transformers 1, where his career really took that big of a nosedive. But this is just a horrible, horrible movie. I hate this movie so much. Like, this is one of those movies where you just feel like this was just something that Disney saw what happened with Titanic, said, we can do the exact same thing, and you know, it's just nothing but a knockoff, a really bad knockoff. It's not entertaining, not enjoyable, just an insult to the people that were affected by this attack almost 80 years ago, over 80 years ago now, and like, I hate this movie. But plain and simple, I hate this movie. I hated it back then. I hate it now. Just an insult to everybody involved in this tragic event. And it's just, I've got nothing else to say. Pearl Harbor, avoid this one like the plague.